as COVID just continues to attack and destroy our economy, well, COVID, the people that are bowing down to COVID and whatever everyone's telling you what to do, that's what we're dealing with. So, anyways, economy's slowly crumbling away, and there's a lot of hits happening, and then there's infightings between leagues and all these professional leagues trying to organizing themselves. So here is an article from USSoccerplayers.com written by Charles Boehm. Flying by soccer wars leave Division III clubs racking up miles and costs, which will end up putting them out of business, basically, but we'll read. U.S. soccer players in 2017, the United Soccer League announced the creation of their second division. The league would occupy the third tier of the U.S. pyramid, eventually taking the name USL League One. It seemed like a promising development for the system as a whole. With what we now know as the USL Championship in the second tier mushrooming to well over 30 member clubs and counting, it was logical to create a less expensive alternative that still offered fully professional soccer, especially in smaller markets. Promotion relegation between them, it was a hinted might someday make sense too, which that would be awesome if they could, but the United States is so large that if we did promotion relegation, you'll end up, with our luck, a team in Washington, D.C., and a team in L.A. having to play because of promotion and relegation. It's not like Europe where everything's so compact and you have literal teams across a freeway. I read on. A few weeks later, the National Independent Soccer Association emerged, an alternative to the franchise model of USL and its partners MLS. It focused on the I in the NISA and was originally conceived as a lower division to the NASL. Soon enough, it took that league's role on as an open system flagship. As NASL drifted into suspended animation amid huge financial losses and ongoing antitrust litigation against U.S. Soccer and MLS, an optimist might see signs of growth and diversity with more platforms and opportunities for new and old clubs alike. A more cynical point of view could note the extension of the long-running ideological conflicts proverbial known as soccer wars, which has often revolved antagonism, even at the expense of the game as a whole. Regardless of which side of the divide you fall on, sustainability has been and remains pivotal, imperative in the lower division. As it wasn't hard enough already, COVID-19 has effectively robbed clubs of game day revenue, far and away the lion's share of income for most. Limited prospects for profit can make for tight budgets. This has been going on for years and years, especially when the indoor soccer wars were going on, when you had the CISL versus MISL and just everyone trying to get a piece of the capital, and everyone had a different idea of how to run things. It was a complete disaster and a mess. And the same thing is today. We're repeating the same problems per the usual. We don't pay attention to the history, and we're repeating history because no one pays attention to it because they think, oh, I wouldn't do that way. They all do it the same dang way, and it's frustrating to watch. Scrolling down. Last year, the Beautiful Game Network calculated that the league's 8 founding members totaled upwards of 227,000 travel miles in their debut season. Even with an unbalanced schedule, Remote FC Tucson accounted for nearly 20% of that, jetting some 43,500 miles, more than all but 5 MLS teams and some 10 times what an English Premier League team might journey in a season. Kind of wonder how much money the Phoenix Rising actually has and how much spending they're willing to do to get an MLS club. They have all the tiers. They have youth, they have USL 1, and they have USL 2, and they have everything set up for the requirements for MLS, and they're not getting it yet being denied repeatedly after false promises that they receive on a continual basis. That's why I hope they buy the Utah franchise. If they buy Utah Real, that'll cause a big hiccup in a lot of things going on in Arizona soccer, which Arizona soccer is crazy. Ask anyone that's ever coached here and left. It's nuts. Continuing on. Meanwhile, NISA has fallen into a comparable situation as it works through a launch process in the midst of a pandemic. It aims to be an umbrella for independent clubs of all sizes and levels, so it's created the NISA Independent Cup, a cup competition featuring NISA clubs and their smaller Pro-Am counterparts in regional leagues. That sort of long-range network building appears a laudable step towards a more regionalized map. It can only do so much about the current reality for the 8 teams in NISA proper who range from coast to coast. Yeah, it's a problem. And you get that everywhere where you get these small ownership groups, small leagues that are trying to be big time, and it just never works out. Kind of what happened at NASL. You had some big time players, and then, because they wanted to grow in any capacity, they opened up the options to be part of it just so they had games to play. I think they got things backwards, which I'm going to talk about the end of this article about the way to get things done as far as creating a fan base so you actually sell out crowds and stuff is develop your own fans. Don't just say, hey, we're pro, come to watch us play. Actually do the work of getting fans. It actually works. The New York Cosmos recently prompted some online chatter by electing for a 2-day bus ride to play Chattanooga FC instead of a flight, citing a desire to mitigate coronavirus exposure risk. Wrong. The bigger question is why that 850-mile trip is one of the shorter trips for the third-tier club alongside potential jaunts to Detroit, Oakland, and L.A. They drove past 2 USL League One teams on their way down. It's an unwarranted throwback to the perpetual underpopulated second incarnation of NASL. Teams burned incredible amounts of money jetting as far afield as Edmonton and Puerto Rico on a regular basis. Oklahoma City, of all places, became a head-to-head battleground with USL. It also makes for an unfortunate link to one of America youth soccer's deepest concerns, the travel culture that escalates costs and time commitments in pursuit of elite opponents and showcase elsewhere now applies to pro level. It certainly does. So just to say you're pro, this is where I have a big problem, because you want to be pro, you feel like you have to play professional teams, or you just need good competition. There's competition everywhere. Example. So I understood. So when I was with the Arizona Thunder of the CISL, PSA, WISL of new league every 2 years, it seemed, we could not get fans to come to the Coliseum for a variety of reasons. But I became the number one ticket seller. I was a player and account executive. I was working both sides of the operations on the field and off the field, and we were making cold calls trying to get people to come to the games, and I realized it wasn't working out. So I went to the West Valley of Arizona and started the Palm Valley Soccer League, and I became the number one single ticket seller because I had a large recreational base that I was under control of, and I would bring the Arizona Thunder players to do camps, clinics, be coaches and whatnot, and then I would sell tickets to that fan base. I had over 1,000 tickets sold for one game, and this was at the tail end of everything before the league went under once again. And one of the last games that we had in 2001, I pushed hard with my newly started league that I had around 1,200 kids sign up. I had 700 sign up in one night when we went out to the West Valley, where they really didn't have soccer other than they had AYSO, but they didn't really have anything else other than that. And we went there, and we just had a huge fan base right away. And we basically doubled our size of our crowds because I was able to get so many ticket sales for single day matches. But I got my own. I actually did the work. That's what these professional clubs need to do. They need to actually create their own clubs, develop their own fans, because in soccer, there's always new families populating, and then they're going to want their kids in sports. Well, they typically choose youth soccer. So you could, if you put the money into recreational soccer and had them not only wearing your jersey and being the look that you are, it's easier to get them to be there. It's easier to support people you know versus people you don't know. Can't just put a billboard out there. Hey, we're professional. It does not work. It works maybe for the elite, but even then, it's just, people support the Cardinals not because of billboards for football. It's because they like football. They're just too big to fail kind of thing. But all these small little markets, you're not just going to have to work harder, my friends. Work harder. Finishing up, the free market norm in the United States is to classify all this as a case of competing business models rather than a competitive or developmental issue. The governing body of the Federation has shown little inclination to wade in. Aside from sanctioning standards that mandate geographic scope and owners of a certain wealth, that has only fueled further resentment among the independents and dissidents who see the establishment stacking the deck beyond USL's head start. So once again, differing visions are faced off in a zero-sum game, even competing head-to-head for both members and markets. United in pursuit of a more coherent footprint of economics of scale appears inconceivable to the rivals. NISA and USL each believe their philosophy is superior, and compromise looks unlikely. That is classic of what the indoor wars were like. It was identical to that. Everyone thinks they have the way to do it. Even Donald Trump, when he got mixed in with the professional football organization, what were they called? I don't even know what they're called. But when they were competing with the NFL, they decided to compete with NFL straight up in the during the winter, the fall winter, versus just staying in the spring, and it killed them because they listened to Donald Trump, who was wrong, which it's okay to be wrong, but he was wrong in that and basically killed the league. But for me, I'm moving on in life. These small-time markets, small-time ownership groups, they need to stop doing what they're doing. Kind of like FC Arizona, small-time owner got involved. Couldn't do it because they didn't have money. Everyone wants to be a professional owner, but unless you have millions to burn, don't do it. And certainly don't run out the millionaires that want to fund professional soccer, Utah Royals. Leave that guy alone. You're going to lose everything. You better hope you can find some liberal money because you're going to need it. I'm out. See you guys Monday.